welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I of course have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, and this weekend in the Championship was just pretty mental. I'm not going to lie about that, guys. In this video here today, we're of course going to be rounding up all the action that did take place this weekend in the Championship, and I'll be very interested to hear what you guys have to say about all the action this week, because it was just a bizarre weekend in terms of some of the results we've got, and we've got a whole lot of drama to go ahead and discuss. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, guys, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated, and make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. And as always, guys, make sure you do leave a comment in the comments down below as to what did you make of your team's performance this weekend. I'd also be interested to know what do you think was the goal and result of the weekend, as I'll be revealing what I thought they were at the end of the video. And just before we do get into any of my analysis, guys, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct this weekend, I will include your comments on screen now. And fair play to everyone who did get a score prediction correct this weekend, because it was quite a tricky one. You know, we had a lot of topsy-turvy results. I don't think any of mine were right, so it wasn't a great round of predictions from me, but like I said, fair play to everyone who did get one right. And I must say as well, I will be doing an updated version of my Championship table predictions for how I think the Championship will actually finish come the end of the season sometime this week, so that video will be coming soon, and this weekend could have quite an influence on that. So we of course start out with the game on Friday night, taking place between Hull City and Sheffield United, and in the end it was the home side who managed to leave with the 1-0 victory. And come the end of the season, this could be a massive result for Hull, and quite a bland performance from Sheffield United, really. You know, you'd expect with where they are currently positioned in the table, only about 2 points or so off the playoffs, this was a massive opportunity to take the advantage into the weekend as they were playing earlier on Friday. But honestly, it's probably the worst I've seen Sheffield United in quite a few weeks now. You know, Leon Clark going forward, his goals have seemed to dry up in the last month or so, and their creativity all throughout the pitch was just really off in this game, and Hull deserved the victory in the end. It was a nice pass into Nua Dicko from Jackson Irvine in a crowded penalty area. Dicko managed to get a bit of space, and it was a very nice finish from him in the end. Bit of suspect defending, I thought, from Sheffield United, but their manager Chris Wilder was definitely not a happy man after this. You know, he was saying that with performances like this, they have no chance of reaching the top 6 this season, and realistically the only benefit for Sheffield United after losing this game was no one else around the playoffs really took advantage of them losing this game. Our next game then saw Birmingham City go ahead and be defeated by Barnsley by 2-0. This result for Barnsley managed to mean that they now leapfrog Birmingham in the table, and they have now gone out of the relegation zone, and a lot of that has to be attributed to McBurney. He had once again a fantastic performance for Barnsley, and he could be one of the main contributing factors as to if they do actually stay up this year, of course. A lot of things being thrown at Barnsley so far this season have been, I don't think they've been awful in a lot of games they've played this season, but they've been nowhere near clinical enough to warrant, you know, being higher up in the Championship. They were much more clinical in this game here today, albeit that was helped by a just shocking Birmingham performance, really. You know, they tried to get a few things going for them going forward, but honestly, they were just making simple mistakes. Off the ball, I don't think they were working hard enough to limit Barnsley from getting into the dangerous areas, and they just looked nervous as well when they were on the ball, Birmingham. You know, it took them until they went 2-0 down for them to really start getting some opportunities into this game. You know, Sam Gallagher had a decent chance towards the end of the match, but apart from that, Barnsley were definitely the deserved winners of this one. It could have been more as well. They missed a penalty in this game as well, and come the end of the season, that could be a massive result for them. The next game then saw Millwall continue their unbeaten run in the Championship and extend it to 8 games now, as they managed to go ahead and take down Burton Albion by 1-0 in what could be a pretty massive result for both these two sides season. You know, now Millwall are just on an unbelievable run in the Championship and really are one of the most underrated teams so far this season, in my opinion. You know, largely they've gone under the radar, but the work that they're doing at the moment is absolutely sublime on such a short budget in the Championship. Burton Albion, on the other hand, you know, I didn't think they were awful in this game, and they probably did deserve to get a point from it. You know, there was quite a few few goal mouth scrambles in this game where on another day Burton would have got 1 or 2 goals in this one. You know, from set piece as well, they had some great chances, you know, 1 or 2 free headers, which they should be doing better with. You know, that's their game plan, so they should be going ahead and converting chances like that. But in the end, it just wasn't to be their day, and another good win for Millwall. Then we saw Paul Heckingbottom go ahead and claim his first victory as Leeds United manager, as they managed to get the 1-0 victory over Brentford. And this now leaves Leeds just 5 points off the playoffs, so I'd be interested to hear from some Leeds fans as to, do you think the playoffs is still a realistic possibility come the end of the season? In this one, it was a pretty professional performance from Leeds. You know, it wasn't too dazzling. It was a nice goal from Cooper in the end, assisted by Alioski, which managed to be the winner for them. Brentford, I thought, were quite sloppy actually in this one, you know, considering how well they played in midweek. Not much of that was taken into this game, you know, especially going forward. When you're playing it against this Leeds side who have made quite a few individual errors at the back, you need to be much more direct with them, and they just weren't that in this game, and they fell below their standards in this one. But in fairness to Leeds, they could have had a couple of more goals in this one. Lasogga was looking dangerous. Good victory for them in the end. Our next game then went ahead and finished as a 0-0 as Bolton managed to go ahead and hold Norwich to the goalless draw, and this could be a very big result for Bolton. You know, what I think is important for Bolton from now until the end of the season really is, in away games like this, they can afford to be doing things like this. You know, defensively they defended as a unit and just frustrated Norwich really for large majorities of the game. Bolton, they didn't have really anything going forward in this one. You know, they ended the game with no shots on target, but when you're grinding out a point away from home and then you can go back to your home stadium and then nick a few 1-0ers, that can really set them up, you know, for another season in the Championship next year, of course. Bolton currently find themselves 4 points off relegation, and with some of the other results going on nearer to the bottom of the table, this could be a big result for them. Norwich, I thought that they were the better side in this one, you know, but they just couldn't break through that Bolton defence, you know. They were forced to have quite a few efforts from long range, you know. James Maddison had a decent attempt, Nelson Oliveira had one which was just turned around the post as well, and I think it was Leitner who had their best chance when he went through on goal one-on-one with the keeper, but then dragged his shot wide. So overall, a frustrating day for Norwich, but a very good point for Bolton. Then our next game saw my club Preston then go and lose by 1-0 against Ipswich Town, and honestly, I can have no complaints about this one. It is probably the worst I've seen Preston in quite a long time actually, quite a few months I think. This has been the worst I've seen us, especially at home, and such a frustrating game. You know, Ipswich managed to take the lead through Carriol. It was a nice finish from him, and he was absolutely ripping apart Callum Woods in the first half. Alex Neil, not a happy man with how we were playing. He went ahead and made 2 first half substitutions, bringing off both Callum Woods and Callum Robinson, and the subs he brought on didn't really change too much in this game. You know, it was just a very flat performance from Preston, and the one thing I would say is it sort of puts a dampener on our last 3 results really. Of course, we managed to pick up points against Brentford, Wolves and Aston Villa, getting a draw in each of them, but when you're getting a point against those sort of sides, it's okay, but then when you're going into a game like this against Ipswich and then losing it, it sort of just takes away from everything you've achieved before that, of course. The one positive for Preston after this game would be that other sides around the top 6 also didn't win in this one, but it was a big opportunity squandered. But Ipswich, fair play to them, they played well in this one and defended very well as well. Our next game then went ahead and finished QPR 2, Nottingham Forest 5, and I mean, I'll go ahead and hold my hand up. I did not see this result coming at all. In the past few weeks, we've been speaking quite a lot actually about Nottingham Forest and just how bad they've been going forward. You know, it's been quite a bland style of football that they've been playing lately, but something just seemed to click for them in this game, and from my opinion, it is Lee Tomlin who was the centre of all this. He managed to go ahead and grab 2 goals. He also had an excellent performance, I thought, in midweek as well, but he was really at the forefront of everything for this game. Managed to grab 2 goals, as I said, the second of which being an absolutely exquisite finish into the top corner from just outside the box, and definitely a contender for the goal of the weekend. But you know, we saw from Nottingham Forest, you know, earlier on in the season that they were capable of playing this attacking football. It was just defensively there was a couple of worries, and you know, that was on show again today. You know, from set pieces, they're just not good enough at defending. They just can't seem to do that, and QPR managed to take advantage of that. But going forward, Nottingham Forest were absolutely irresistible to watch in this one. Ben Burton then wrapping it up in the 90th minute, scoring the 5th goal with a nice finish from him, and definitely positive signs for Forest to take into this one. And and I'd be interested to hear what some Forest fans thought of the game. Then our next game was a 6-goal thriller as Reading drew 3-3 with Derby County in what was a really topsy-turvy game of football. At half-time, this one was 2-2, and honestly, there were so many momentum swings in this game, it was honestly unreal, but I thought Reading would have been quite disappointed with dropping points in this one, really, as there were opportunities to go on and win this game, in my opinion. Derby, of course, we said it in my last prediction video, I think. At the moment, they're drawing way too many games, of course, to go ahead and get automatic promotion at the end of the season, which will, of course, be their aim. And this was another example of that. Going forward, I thought that Derby looked excellent in this one. They were aided by quite a bit of sloppy defending from Reading, I think that's fair to say, but equal to that, you know, Reading were excellent going forward in this one. The pick of the goals had to go to Liam Kelly for an absolute thunderbolt in the first half to go ahead and beat Scott Carlson. That is definitely a contender for the goal of the weekend. But one thing I would say about Reading is going forward, they looked a lot more aggressive in this game than they have done in previous ones so far this season. You know, runners going on the wings from both Aluko and Barrow. They look more for those runs off the ball. You know, so many times this season we've seen people make a run for Reading, but then choose not to play that ball and go sideways or backwards instead. They were a little bit more positive in this game. You know, Bodvarsson then managed to go ahead and rescue the point in the 80th minute for them. But overall, Reading still do need to be starting to picking up some victories now. They're still only 4 points off the relegation zone, and I believe they've only had one win now in their last 13 championship matches. Their next game in the championship was once again another 6-goal thriller. We had Sheffield Wednesday 2, Aston Villa 4, and this result, of course, will stand out to a lot of people as being Aston Villa a massive result for them come the run-up in the championship. But honestly, I thought it did flatter them a little bit. You know, Sheffield Wednesday, I thought, put in a really valiant performance from this game, and they could have even gone on to snatch a point from it, and I don't think too many people would have had really many complaints about this one. In the first half especially, I thought that Sheffield Wednesday had the better of it. Sam Johnson definitely had to be kept alert for this one, and if it wasn't for some of the saves he was producing in this game, they could have gone into that with a 2 or 3 goal lead at half-time. But then when Glenn Whelan managed to go ahead and level it up and make it 2-2, the game then really was on the knife edge, and whoever got that third goal, you could just sense was going to go ahead and go on to win this game. Sheffield Wednesday had the chances to go ahead and do that, and they will be kicking themselves at the end that they didn't get that third goal to make it 3-2, and then we may have seen a different balance for the rest of the game. But it was in the end Conor Hourihane who managed to step up for the big occasion once again. A very nice finish from him, and then of course they wrapped up with a penalty from Robert Snodgrass. So come the end of the season, Aston Villa, after a couple of bland performances from Aston Villa, this could be a big result for them to once again go and claim that second spot in the championship, as the race for that definitely is heating up now. Then our next game went ahead and finished Sunderland 3, Middlesbrough 3, in what was one of the most bizarre games in the championship that we have seen so far this season, and I would love to get your guys' opinions on what you thought of this game here today. And it was Sunderland actually who started the brighter in this game, as they managed to take a 1-0 lead into half-time. There was a bit of a dampener on Sunderland's first half though, as of course they were reduced to 10 men after a bad tackle, but in fairness to them, this was then levelled out as Adama Traore was also sent off in the first half for Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough definitely be disappointed not to take advantage of that extra man, and with a player of Traore's quality going off in the first half, you'd think that that would limit their attacking options going forward in the second half. But then in the second half, everything just exploded really. We saw 5 goals being scored, the best of which had to be Patrick Bamford for his goal. It was a lovely goal. It was a roulette he did inside the box, probably had about 5 Sunderland defenders in and around him, and then managed to go ahead and slot it into the bottom corner. But then we were then heading towards the final stages of this game. It was 3-2 to Middlesbrough, and then in the 96th minute, Callum McManaman manages to ghost in at the back post and make it 3-3, and then his celebration definitely brought up a few talking points. He of course ran the length of the pitch into the technical area to do this at Tony Pulis, of course his former manager when he was at West Brom, and Tony Pulis had some interesting comments after that. He said he was disappointed when he was at West Brom because I didn't pick him. He went to Sheffield Wednesday on loan and they didn't pick him. Now he's here and they don't pick him. So Tony Pulis not holding anything back when he's talking about McManaman, but he'll be disappointed that Middlesbrough threw it away in such dramatic circumstances. Sunderland showing that fight back is just what they need at the bottom of the championship at the moment, but Sunderland are just a team I can't work out. One week they'll put in a really spirited performance like this when they're down to 10 men, and then the next week it'll look like they don't care. They're just a team I just can't work out at the moment. But Sunderland fans, let me know what you thought of the game down below. The next game saw Fulham go ahead and claim a 2-0 home victory over league leaders Wolves, and Wolves at the moment have had a bit of a stumble in their form. You know, they've not won a game now in their last 3, and overall their performances haven't been brilliant lately, but it's just a credit to Fulham in this one. You know, they went ahead and took the game to Wolves. They weren't holding anything back for this one, and that was the case in the end with them picking up that 2-0 victory. You know, you could see from Wolves' perspective that they were missing Ruben Neves in this one. You know, Fulham's midfielders really were the ones who were pulling the strings in this one. You know, Tom Kearney, Johansson and McDonald getting quite a bit of time on the ball for this one to go ahead and pick those forward passes. But Mitrovic going forward as well for Fulham, involved in both the goals. It was the first goal when John Ruddy parried his shot out wide for then Ryan Sessegnon to ghost in and make it 1-0 to Fulham. And Ryan Sessegnon at the moment in a ridiculous goal scoring form, and this really does raise the question now for Fulham as to they do still have an opportunity to go ahead and sneak into that second spot come the end of the season. I'd be very interested to hear from Fulham fans as to where do you think your future lies for the rest of this championship season. And Wolves, I thought that they weren't brilliant going forward either. You know, their game was probably summed up actually by in the second half when Diogo Jota went ahead and blasted his shot over when he had an open goal pretty much. So Wolves off the pace in this one, and Cardiff now only 6 points behind them. The final game to go ahead and talk over was a derby taking place between Cardiff and Bristol City, where it was Cardiff who managed to take full advantage with the 1-0 home victory. And honestly, it wasn't the best game of football, you know, but a credit has to be given to Cardiff in this one, as Bristol City are that sort of football team who, when you let them express themselves and play the game that they want to, they will out-football you, there's no question about that. But Cardiff managed to make this sort of a scrappy game and really bring Bristol City down to their level, and that absolutely suited them. Bristol City's forward-thinking players couldn't get into this game at all, and they actually finished this game with only 1 shot on target. You know, considering Bristol City are one of the top scorers so far this season, a credit has to be given to Cardiff in this one for being so hard to break down. And of course, it was always going to be, you know, a scrappy goal which went ahead and won it, and in the end it was just that really. But Kenneth Zohore popping up in the 82nd minute. This result for Cardiff now leaves them just 6 points behind Wolves at the top of the championship. So I asked the question last week, I'll ask it again to Cardiff fans: where do you think you will finish this season? Do you have more confidence now that you will go on to finish second, or do you think it still will be the playoffs for you? So guys, there were all the games that did take place this weekend in the championship. So as always, I'd be very interested to get your opinions on what you thought of everything in the comments down below. So in terms of my results of the weekend, there are a lot of contenders for this one, and I'd be interested to see what you guys are going to be going ahead and voting for. I have Fulham coming in a close second, but for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Nottingham Forest for going ahead and getting that 5-2 victory over QPR. Then in terms of my goal of the weekend, once again quite a few contenders for this one, but for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Liam Kelly of Reading for his audacious long shot against Derby County. So guys, there you have it. That'll wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated, and make sure you do check out all the other links in the description down below. But other than that guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.